survive. Everybody know how to swim, right? Yeah, whenever you're ready.
I better know how to swim.
You don't.
I know.
All right, so welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. Happy New Year. It's a new year starting, right? So it's very good to have everyone here. Happy New Year for those watching us through the internet. It's a pleasure to have you all here too. Starting a new year, a new month, and today we're gonna start with, well, the month is entirely about the Spiritism, and Teresa will talk about the Consoler. Thank you. And so again, it's a pleasure to have you here. Before we start, Livia will do the initial reading, and I'm gonna be back to the initial prayer.
Good morning, everyone. So the initial reading is from the book Happy Life by Givaldo Pereira Franco and Joana de Angelis. Some natural occurrences in the process of human existence are considered misfortunes. The loss of loved ones, accidents with painful consequences, economic ruin, effective bankruptcy, earthquakes, and other cataclysms. Certainly, these are grave problems, but not, however, real disasters, except for the person who allows himself to be undermined by their effects, thereby destroying life's highest values. Knowing how to face these unpleasant phenomena, one can extract real value from them and be happy. The opportunities for moral improvement that life allows us should be taken advantage of wisely and immediately. The march of time is inevitable, and an occasion neglected is lost forever. Time and wind never come back. Thus, it is a liberating blessing to utilize every opportunity for inner growth. Stay alert in order to take the most advantage of the hours of your earthly existence.
Let us all close our eyes, connect our minds and our hearts to our Master Jesus, to God, our Creator. And let's thank them. Thank them for the start of a new year, for the start of a new day. Thank them that at the beginning of this year, we are here together to study, to learn, to grow as spirits, as individuals, as a society. Let's ask all the good spirits that are here today to help us to keep our minds open to the lessons that Jesus brought to us, to the lesson that good spirits brought to us through Allan Kardec, through Spiritism. So be it.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you all for being here in a very, 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 very cold morning. The good news is that tomorrow is going to be warmer, for sure. But today is still very cold, so it's very nice that you guys, were brave to leave your house and come here in this very cold day. So it's the first lecture of the year, so 2018. It's good to be back here. It's good to continue our work all together. Come on in. And I think the theme of the year, what I understand, if Marcos can correct me, is kind of a back to basics. So let's talk about the basics of Spiritism, the basics of Jesus' teachings. And today I wanted to talk about Spiritism as the promised consoler, because that's how we Spiritists see the Spiritism. That's how we believe. That's what we believe, and that's how we see a Spiritism being as the third revelation and the consoler that Jesus has promised us. So I want to bring today a little bit of is really Spiritism the promised consoler? Does it matches what Jesus said that the consoler would be? So that's what I want to bring a little bit today about it. So where did we hear about the promised consoler? So we heard about the promised consoler in John, the Gospel of John. So on John 14, verses 16 and 17, and on 26, Jesus said, "If you love me, keep my commandments, and I will pray to my Father, and he'll send you another consoler, so that he may remain with you forever, the Spirit of truth, whom the world can't receive, because it neither sees him nor knows him." And then on 26, he says, "But the consoler, who is the Holy Spirit, whom my Father will send in my name, will teach you all things, and will enable you to remember and everything that I have said to you." So there's three main aspects here when we look at those two passages of the Gospel of John about the Spirit of truth or the consoler. First, that he's going to come in the right time, because that's what he's saying on the 16 and 17, verse 16, 17, saying, you guys are not ready for him yet. He's going to come when it's the right time. Because if I bring him right now, or if I bring the knowledge of that the Spirit of truth is going to bring it right now, you're not going to understand. Because seeing right now, you can neither see him nor know him. It's too much, right? It's the same thing as you getting a kid who's in the grade 1 and say, I'm going to teach you university math. They're like, you can try teaching. The chance of this kid understanding anything is going to be close to 0, right? So it's basically saying there is a right time for all this information to come. And then he brought two main characteristics of the consoler as well. That he's going to teach us all things. So basically what Jesus is trying to say is this: there is things that I still cannot teach you because you're not ready, like he said before, right? So this person is going to try to bring things that you don't know, that I cannot tell you right now. So there's new things to learn. So basically it's trying to say, I didn't teach you everything. There is more information that I cannot give to you. But that's what the Spirit of truth is going to do. And he's going to remind you of everything that I taught you. Because for some reason, Jesus kind of knew us very, 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 very well. And he knew that what he taught us 2,000 years ago would be forgotten, or would be misunderstanding over the time, and we're going to interpret it in the wrong way. So he said, just to help you, the Spirit of truth is going to remind you the basic that like the way I taught, not the way that was misinterpreted through the years. So I'm going to bring you back to basics. Basically, that's what he's trying to say. Sorry, I'm having a little trouble here, my thing. Just a second, please. No. Okay. So the consoler has to have this characteristic. It has to bring information that we don't know yet, and has to bring new information. Or at least it has to bring us stuff that maybe Jesus talked about, but not clearly. So now Spiritism, or the Spirit of truth, will clear that information. And that's what he says actually in John. And this conversation between Jesus and the apostles is actually when Jesus is preparing them, because he's close to leave. Like he's know that he's he's about to die very soon. He knows it's coming. So he's actually preparing the apostles. I have to go soon. And for a while, you're not going to have me around you. But don't worry, I'll send the consoler eventually when you guys are ready to receive it, right? And it's a long conversation. So in John chapter 16, 20 and 25, he says two things on 20 he says to the apostle, most certainly I tell you that you weep and lament, but the world will rejoice. You will be sorrow, but your sorrow will be turned into joy. I'm pretty sure at the time the apostles didn't quite understand what he was saying, right? Like, what do you mean the world's gonna be happy, but we're gonna be suffering, but our suffering is gonna become happiness? How it goes? Like, what's happening here, right? And on 25 he says, I have spoken these things to you in figures of speech. But the time is coming when I will no longer speak to you in figures of speech, but I will tell you plainly about the Father. So he's saying, right now, there's a lot of information that I'm giving to you, but I'm giving a lot of in parables, because that's how Jesus used to talk, like figures of speech is in parables. And the apostles kind of understood part of it, but most of it, the real essence, they didn't. And if you imagine if the apostles, they were living with him, living the gospel with him, believing, didn't quite understand everything, imagine the rest. The rest of us, there was just like watching there, following him, or even the Pharisees, or everybody around, right? And just to give a small example, the famous conversation between Jesus and Nicodemus, which is in John chapter 3, if I'm not wrong, when Nicodemus, was asking about heaven, the kingdom of heaven, and Jesus tells him, Nicodemus, I can assure you that no one is going to reach the kingdom of heaven if they don't reborn from water and spirit. And Nicodemus was all lost. Like, what do you mean, like reborn? Like I'm going to go back to my mother's womb? Like, how this happens? But I'm an adult, a grown man. How I go back? So see, he doesn't understand, like, what's the concept. And that's when Jesus tells him, you know what? How do you want him to explain the things of heaven? So the things that you cannot see, that goes beyond your vision. If even the things that are around you, that are right in front of you, you don't believe and you don't understand. So how you want me to teach you university math if you didn't even understood grade 1 math? That's what he's telling to Nicodemus, right? And that's what he's saying here as well. Right now, I'm using figure of speech because that's kind of how you guys can understand a little bit. But eventually, it's going to have a time when I'm going to talk plainly. And when it's this time, is the time when the Spirit of truth is going to come and teach us everything in a plain way. So those are the characteristics of the Spirit of truth, or the consoler that was promised by Jesus. We know that he's going to clarify things that we didn't understand. He's going to bring new knowledge. And he is going to remind us of everything that we forgot in terms of the laws of love and charity that Jesus brought to us. And all of those things combined have to bring us consolation, because he called him the consoler, right? So he has to bring some consolation to us. So let's talk about a little bit about Spiritism and Allan Kardec. So in the book Obras Póstumas, which unfortunately is not translated yet, so Posthumous Works by Allan Kardec, on part 2, Allan Kardec talks about his spiritual guide. And Allan Kardec tells a story that there was one night he's working on paper, and the paper is about spirits and the communication with spirits. And every time he tries to write it down, he hears a knock on the wall. And he's trying to work, and there is a knock on the wall. And it's coming to the wall that comes from the other room. So at some point he gets up, goes to the wall, goes to the other room, tries to figure out where the noise is coming from, where the knocks are coming from, and he cannot find it. Try to see if it's coming from the other floor, cannot find it. As soon as he goes back to his desk and starts to write, the knocks started. Starts to ignore it, and then his wife comes to the room and hears the knocks. As I say, what is that? He goes, I don't know, but it has been 1 hour that I've been trying to work on this paper, and every time I try to write it down, I get this knock on the wall. So next day, he's going to his mediumship group that he meet up regularly, and so he's talking with this through the medium. He's talking to the spirit, and he tells him the story. So, yesterday I was trying to write this paper, and this is what happened. And do you know what was going on? And the spirit says, yes. Was your protector spirit who wanted to talk to you, who want to, get your attention. And Kardec goes, may I know who's this person? Like, who's this protector spirit? And he goes, yes, why don't you ask him yourself? He's here. So Kardec, in a very respectful and humble way, says to the spirit, my protector spirit, first I want to be grateful for you being here with me. If you wish, so it's not like, can you tell me? But if you wish, can you tell me who you are? And he answered to him is, to you, I'll be called the truth. So, and said, for you, I'll be called the truth. And from now on, every month, for a quarter of an hour, which is 15 minutes, I'll be here at your disposition. And Kardec asks him, why are you trying to get my attention? Yes, he said, because the paper that you're writing down had a huge mistake in it. And then he goes, you know what? I was writing and I really felt uneasy about the paper. So I rewrote. He goes, yeah, you rewrote. It's still wrong. Go and look and read from third line to the 13th line, and you're going to see a mistake on the 13th line. And there is a note from Kardec saying that actually the next night he actually went back to the paper, and on the 13th line he said there was such a big mistake that I was even surprised with myself that I actually wrote that down. Right? And he says that from that day on, the Spirit of Truth was with him in every moment. Like he felt his support, and he was always in there for him. Always in there for him. So at some point, Kardec goes to a reclusion. So he moves from his house and goes to a place where nobody knows who he is, because that's the instruction that he got from the spirits, to write a book. Nobody knew what he was writing, what the book was about, the name of the book, or anything. No one, absolutely no one, knew what he was doing. Even the editor of the book only found out about the book the day that the book was going to the press. But as Kardec is writing the book, a medium in Bordeaux receives a letter from the Spirit of Truth, a letter that's signed by the Spirit of the Truth. And this letter is in the Revista Espírita, which is also, it's not translated as far as I know, the Spiritist magazine, in the issue of December 1864. The letter was received in Bordeaux in May 1860. Yeah, in May. Yeah, it was in the magazine in December. So Kardec is there. Nobody knows what he's doing, and this meeting in Bordeaux is receiving this letter from the Spirit of Truth. I'm going to read the letter. I usually don't like to do readings when I'm doing a lecture, but I think this is very important. And I'm going to read the letter. It's not the full letter. I think I took 1 or 2 paragraphs out. But I took the main part of this letter that talks about the characteristics of this book. They kind of match the characteristics of the Consoler. And he says, a new book is born. So the Spirit's talking about a new book. The new book that Kardec is writing that nobody knows is being written. It is a bright light that comes to clear your pathway. 18 years ago, by the order of my father, I came to bring the word of God to the man of goodwill. This word was forgotten by the majority of men, and incredibly the materialism came to drown out the good seed that I have deposited in your earth. So first characteristic of the book, it is a light in the pathway that's going to help us to remind everything that we have forgotten that was taught to us 18 centuries ago. And we let our incredulity, our materialism, to make us forget everything. So he's saying this book is going to bring the light again. It's going to remind us what Jesus brought to us 18 centuries ago. Today, by the order of the eternal God, the good spirits, your messengers, come to all points of the globe to make hear the resound trumpet. And we have to remember that at the time when Kardec was writing all those books, the Spirit's books, the basic of the Spiritism was being right, there was mediums receiving messages all over the world. In fact, Kardec used to exchange letters with the mediums from all over the world, because he didn't just rely on what he was receiving from the mediums that was around him, the spirits. He would compare, say, hey, can you ask like someone in States or in Spain England, and everywhere that he knew it, he would send and say, can you ask your spirit the same question? And you say if the questions were the same, because he was a scientist, right? He was a scientist. So that's he was comparing notes and doing all those things. So there was messages actually coming from all over the globe. It was not just like there in France with Kardec. No, the advent of communication with the spirits was now happening everywhere. Listen to their voices. They are intended to show you the pathway that leads to the feet of the Celestial Father. Be docile to their teachings. The predicted times has arrived. All the prophecies will be fulfilled. So the predicted time is the right time now for the Consoler to come. Because now we are ready to understand and receive the things that 18 centuries ago we could not understand. So imagine Jesus talking about reincarnation with Nicodemus. The guy was confused already without talking about reincarnation. Imagine if Jesus had talked, because that's exactly what he told him at the time. Said, you know what? Nobody's going to get to the kingdom of heaven unless they're reborn. So he's talking about reincarnation from water. Our bodies is mainly made of water. In fact, a baby, it's one right there. It's about, as a fetus, is about 90%. The baby right there is about 80%. Right? We hear about 70%. That's where we are. That's where our bodies are. Water. Reborn from water. And so, reincarnation. Right? But Spiritism had to come later on when was the right time. Like he says here, now is the right time. It has arrived. It's the time to take the veil out of all those parables and everything that Jesus spoke about, figures of speech, and make them clear. Make them now, because now we are prepared to talk about reincarnation. That means that the whole world is ready to hear? No, but it means that there's enough knowledge and enough people to receive those seeds and starts to spread. When Jesus came 18 centuries ago, were we all ready to receive him? Not even close. But there is enough people to receive the seeds and start planting him. Right? Trials and expiations. That's the condition of the human beings on earth. Expiation of the past. Trials to strengthen against the temptation. To develop the spirit for the activity of resistance. Get used to dominate the material and prepare for the pure happiness that await for them in the spiritual world. Start kind of explain the passage from John saying to the apostles, you're gonna suffer here. While the world's being happy, you're gonna suffer, but your sorrow is gonna become happiness. Saying, and Jesus used to say, right, my kingdom is not from this world. So meaning, yeah, maybe you're suffering here, but there is a reason, because now we explain trials and expiation. So you're not just suffering because the God wants to, because that's how the explanation that we had it before. It's because God wishes. Well, why he doesn't wish that pain to someone else? Like, leave me alone. What's fair here, right? So now when trying to bring trials and expiations from past lives, we try to understand, okay, oh, no, now I understand what I'm going through, and now I understand how the sorrow and pain that I'm going to suffer now is going to give me happiness in the future, in the spiritual world, which is our real life. Right? In my Father's house are many homes. I have told you that 18 centuries ago. The Spiritism came to make these words understandable. In you, my beloved ones, workers that bear the heat of the day, that believe that you have to lament the injustice of fate, bless your suffering. Be grateful to God that gives you means to pay off your debts from the past. Pray not with your lips, but with your improved heart, in order to occupy a better place in the house of my Father. As you know, the great will be humiliated, but the small and humble will be exalted. A Spirit of Truth is the one who signs the letter. So again, when Jesus used to say, "There's many houses in my Father, in my Father's house there are many homes," what he was talking about. That's the other thing that they didn't understand, and that now the Spiritism brings to us very clear. It's just saying, you know what? depending on the level of evolution that you are, there are different levels of places that you can go once you're done here with this incarnated life. And we're talking, let's just talk about planet Earth. Just planet Earth, you spirits who belongs to planet Earth. There's so many levels of places that we can go, depending how we are. And that's why the Spirit of Truth is here at the bottom. Pray not with your lips, but your improved heart, in order to occupy a better place in the house of my Father. Basically saying that the more we improve our hearts, so the more we improve morally, a better place we're going to occupy when we discarnate. Because there's many places to go. And it's up to me to decide where I want to go. We all want to go to No Solar, I know. I want to get there. If I get something like in between there and the Umbral, I'm happy already, you know. So, but that's what it is. So what is those many houses? And then we can expand, right? We can expand this to the universe. Do you really think that the planet Earth is the only one that has human beings? No. So now with the Spiritism, we know that the many houses are all the different planets and galaxies. There are many other planets of expiation. There's many other planets of regeneration. There's planets they're still in the primitive states. There are planets that are happy planets already. There's planets with the pure spirits. And one day we're going to get there, right? So when we look at what the Spiritism brought to us and the knowledge, we start to see, it's very easy to see him as the consoler, as seeing the Spirit of Truth. That this knowledge came from the Spirit of Truth, because it really brings us a rational faith, a faith that makes sense. Because otherwise, how I'm going to justify that I have to be happy because I'm happy, not meaning happy, smiling, and happy in the sense of grateful for being suffering. Because that's what Jesus said. He said, blessed are the afflicted, for they shall be comforted. But how can I feel blessed for my pain if I don't even know what I'm having this pain for? Very hard. Very, very hard for me to be grateful for the hardships of life that we all have it. All have it. Even though we all look happy on Facebook, right? We all have hardships, but we all look happy on Facebook and social media and everything. But the truth is we all have our hardships. How be grateful for that? How to have resistance, resignation, if I don't even know why I'm in pain? And if the only explanation that someone tells me is God's wish. Okay, but then what's the justice? If I was born blind or deaf or without a leg or without my arms and someone else comes with a perfect body or so-called perfect body. And then the answer that we had before was, oh, it's because it's God's wish. So, but it's random? Like he chooses a random, like, oh, this one I'm going to create like this one, it's random? Where's God's justice? Why me? I have a friend who even believes that the kids pay for the father's mistakes, so that's why the kids come like that, because the fathers did something, so then the kid, so the parents can pay for their mistakes. I don't know if you guys remember when you were kids and you had brothers and sisters. Remember having a timeout for something that your brother or sister have done? Were you happy? Or you're not happy? So it happens with you? Yeah, okay. I wasn't happy, although to be honest with you, I think my sister's the one who most took time out from things that me and my brother did. That's the truth. But were anybody happy to get punished by something that you didn't do? Do you think it's fair? Well, so, but isn't God pure justice? So if he's pure justice, how is there's justice in here when my kid comes with a problem, a health problem, or whatever problem it is because I made a mistake, or I just have to come this way because chose that I'm the one? Well, I chose someone else then. I'm okay. I'm good, right? So the Spiritism brings exactly that. It says, no. This is not your first life. There's many lives, and what you're going through now is expiating your past wrongdoings. Yeah, maybe you didn't do. Although a lot of things that happens with us in this life, it's like stuff that we did right here, right now, right? But also there's stuff that we brought from before. That has to be corrected, right? So when now I understand, it's like, oh, okay, I'm not a victim, because that's how we see ourselves, as a victim, because that's how we used to do before. I don't deserve, I didn't do anything, so I'm a victim, right? So Spiritism, when it brings this life and tells, no, life is eternal, and that's not your first life. You had many, 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 many lives, right? And we probably pretty sure one of the ones that were there 18 centuries ago, actually now 21, and listened to Jesus, and either didn't care, or forgot, or misunderstood, or, you know, or we lived so far away that we're not able to actually listen to him at the time, right? Because otherwise we wouldn't be here. If we had listened to him that time, we wouldn't be here right now. So that's what Spiritism brings. So that's what helps us to have resignation, to have consolation. Because now I know, I may not know the exact reason, because we forget what we did in the past life. So I don't know exactly why I'm going here right now, because I don't remember. So, oh yeah, I remember the past life I did this. Like, oh, no, we don't. But I know there is a reason. And I know eventually I will know it. And so that brings me resignation. So it takes me from the position of victim. Oh, I'm a victim. I don't deserve that. Actually, we do, right? The other thing that Spiritism brings to us is this wrong concept of punishment. And even people in Spiritism still believe this, that the law of action and reaction is a law of punishment. There's no punishment. There's no law of punishment, and there's no law of recompense either. There's a law of consequence. That's what action and reaction means. Law of consequence. So whatever I do in life is going to have a consequence. On this life, on the past one, and everything, right? And it takes also this concept of punishment, because God does not punish. He gives us the chance of rebuild, of fix it. Fix what we did in the past. Isn't that much better to believe? Than believe that I'm going to be punished eternally because I made a mistake. Okay. So I'm going to bring just a few things that how the Spiritism is this big consoler, and how all this knowledge that came mostly from all the good spirits and a lot from the Spirit of Truth, and all those spirits that helped Kardec were working under the Spirit of Truth to bring all this knowledge. How this brings us consolation. So reincarnation first, we're talking about this, so helps us with the suffering, like I said, right? So now I know I'm suffering for, or at least I know I'm not a victim. So it helps us with the resignation. It helps us to understand the birth difference, physically, mentally, financially. Why I was born in a poor family and the other someone was born in a rich family, right? So we start to understand those things and not seeing them as unfair anymore, right? Because we no longer are victims. It makes us to understand premature death, right? It's very hard to accept that, especially when it's a child, someone very young. Also takes us away that injustice of premature death, where we thought that if someone died as a child, they would go automatically to heaven. I thought that was so unfair, because you only had to live a few years and you already go to heaven. And I had to stay here until, I don't know, 70, 80, going through all the hardship, and I'm not going to because I failed. So where's the justice in there, right? So the Spiritism, we know that that's not the way. That Spirit came, and each one of us is going to stay here as long as needed for our whatever mission or whatever plan it's for us, for whatever we have to expiate. And that's what it is, right? And we start to see the child also as a spirit, as another immortal spirit who may be even older than I am, right? And not just as a child. In terms of the suffering, does the Spiritism makes you suffer less? Like, it does ease the pain? No, it does not ease the pain. The pain is exactly the same. So, and I'm gonna get like the strongest example that I can get in. You get a Spiritist parents who lose a child, and you get any other religion, or even parents who have no religion at all and they lose their child. Do you think the pain is different? I can guarantee to you it's not. Because in my job, I have seen people losing their children from every single religion, and even people had no religion. I can guarantee to you the pain is exactly the same. It does not change. And it's the biggest pain I have seen in my life. It's exactly the same. What's the difference? It's how I deal with the pain. Is the consolation that Spiritism gives to us to understand that there is a reason, that there's no victims, and that we have to endure and accept, and that one day we're going to know the reason why. So that's what it is. It gives you that consolation to bear the pain, to go through, to accept, to grieve maybe in a little bit more healthy way. But does it take the pain away? No, it doesn't. Because it's a loss of a child. And no matter what, it is the pain that we're feeling. So that's what it is. It gives us tools to accept, to endure, to create a resignation in there. Right? And because if I don't have that, I can go to a state that the pain may be so hard, no matter what is the problem, then we can even get to consequences like suicide, which is another thing that Spiritism brings to us. The knowledge of consequence of suicide. You think the pain's it's paining here right now? Think twice, because through suicide now we know that the consequence is going to be even worse. Right? So how many people Spiritism probably has brought consolation and avoided them from committing suicide? To say, whoa, wait a second, first I'm not a victim. If this is happening with me, there is a reason and I have to go through. And second, now I have the knowledge of what are the consequences of a suicide. So I'm not going to go there, right? I don't want to do that. Because if I really believe that there's nothing after, which is what usually people who commit suicide do, because they think there's nothing after, and this pain is so big, it's so big that I just want to go away, it's very easy to think about suicide. If you don't know what's coming after, if you believe that there's nothing after, yeah, why not? The problem that I'm going right now, it's so big that let's just end this. And I can tell for a personal experience that I have gone through a pain that is so major recently, that for the first time I understood what is to have a pain that would lead someone to think about suicide. Even though I never ever thought about suicide, it never even crossed my mind, because you wouldn't, exactly because I have the Spiritism, because I have the consoler, because I understand the consequence. But I understand now that if I didn't have the Spiritism in my life, if I didn't have the knowledge of the consequences of a suicide, if I didn't have a knowledge that I'm not a victim, that there is a reason for, and it's probably consequence of something that I have done, maybe would have crossed my mind. So now I understand, I empathize more with people who have no knowledge, who maybe don't even have a faith, how it's very easy. If we don't have this consolation, how it's very easy for us to cross the line. No wonder these days, like the Spirit of Truth is in the letter, these days that we completely forgot Jesus' teachings. We are very materialistic. No wonder the number of suicides, depression, and other mental illnesses are growing, and growing fast in a very, very scary way. Because if you don't have something to hold on, to give you hope, to console you, to give explanation for what's happening, it's very easy to go into despair. Very, very easy. So this is another characteristic of consoling that the Spiritism brings to us. That's a consolation, helping us to deal with hardship. The other concept that the Spiritism brings, that to me brings a lot of consolation, is the concept of heaven and hell. That Spiritism took it away and said it does not exist. There's no such a thing as hell. Also, there's no such a thing as heaven. Because imagine imagine as a family, and we see this, a lot of those examples on André Luiz books. Imagine you have a loved one that you try to guide while you're here, both incarnated, try to put in the good path, and this spirit just decide to keep going on the wrong path, the path of crime and whatever it is, right? Then you both discarnate, and by the old concept, this person's gonna go to hell, and you're gonna go to heaven. And now imagine that this person that you love so much, no matter how much wrong they did, but you love them so much, either because they're a really good close friend or a family member or your son or your daughter, whatever it is, but you really had, or your mother and your father, whatever it is, you really have a big connection with this person, no matter what they did. And now this person is there in hell, burning, suffering, being tortured, everything forever, and this person just regrets what they did. They regret, like, oh my gosh, what did I do? Like, I really regret what I did, and I wish I could just go to the people that I wronged and say to them, I'm so sorry. Can I fix it? But then God comes to this person and says, sorry, you had one chance, and you blew it. So now, as your loving Father, I'm going to let you there in hell for eternity suffering, because it doesn't matter to me if you regret what you did or not. Is that consoling? Is that like, would you like that? Would you like that someone doesn't give you a second chance to fix what you did? Does it sound a God that's loving? Because that's how we, in every single Christian religion, that's how we describe God. Pure justice, pure love. Love means tolerance, means charity, means forgiveness. How about Jesus said, should we forgive 7 times? No, 7 times 7, 7, meaning innumerable times. So Jesus is teaching us to forgive many times, but God only gives you one chance. He does not forgive you, and you're going to be in there forever. Now imagine you in heaven playing harp, right? Doing nothing, literally doing nothing, just there, enjoying the pleasures of life, with so much pain in your heart because you would like to go there and help that person who's in hell. And then you go to God and say, God, please, I know he made so many mistakes, but I really want to help. I know he regrets what he did, and I want to help. And say, no, you cannot help. Enjoy your life there doing nothing, because there's nothing you can do. I know you have the goodwill to try to help someone, but not gonna happen. Is that consoling? Is that great to know? Does it even match as a God that's pure justice and love? To me, it doesn't. So what Spiritism brings is something that it matches with Jesus' teachings. The teachings of let's forgive 7 times 77, which pretty much means unlimited. That's what he's trying to say to the apostles. You're going to forgive as many times as needed. And Jesus came to represent God, to represent the divine laws? So that means that's how God works. So there's no such a thing as, so that's the thing that Spiritism takes away, this concept of heaven and hell. That does not exist. Because a God that's pure justice would never destroy his creation, because that's some other religions believe even that some of us is going to be just destroyed. Why would destroy his creation? His creation is perfect. There's no reason to destroy. And he's not going to make anybody to suffer forever. There's no such a thing. So there's no hell. What it is places on the spiritual world that look like hell that we created, because that's what we bring inside of us. But the moment that we regret and say, I want to get out of here, I want to fix it, they're taken out of there. And the other person who's on a higher level will say, please, let me help. I want to help. It's going to say, yes, that's your job, actually, to go and help this person. Because that's actually what we have to do. There's no places that we stay there and do nothing. No, we're always working to help the ones that are a bit lower than us. And being helped by the ones that are a bit higher than us. Because that's how it is. We're all working towards the law of love one another. Because love one another is not just here. In the spiritual plane, it happens as well. We always helping each other. Again, we see that a lot in Andrea Luiz books. There's one of the Andrea Luiz books that I'm not going to remember the name right now, that the mother has been trying to save the son in spiritual plan for 300 years. 300 years. She's there. She's in a much, much, much higher evolved plan than he is. He's actually an obsessor. Actually, he's the head of a whole group of obsessors. And for 300 years, she patiently keeps sending her love to him to rescue him. And she finally gets to touch his heart and starts the change on him. So nobody's going to be forgotten. Nobody's going to say, isn't that better? Isn't that consoling to know that I don't need to be perfect by the end of this life? I just need to better myself a little bit more, because that's what is expected from us. And then whatever I did wrong, right now, I'm going to have the chance to fix it. Not to be punished by it, to fix it. And the pain that I'm feeling right now, it's me fixing, and the hardship that I'm going right now is consequence of my own doing, and it's part of me fixing what I did in the past. So isn't that much consoler to know that we have a God that loves us infinitely, and that gives us as many chances needed for us to improve ourselves and be better and grow. And it doesn't need to be one shot, because it would be impossible. As Jesus said, very verily I tell to you that you're not going to reach the kingdom of God unless you're reborn from water and spirit. So Jesus said, like, don't even try in one life, because you're not going to be able to. You're not, the kingdom of God, the way I know, the way he knew, like for you to get the level that I am, which you now know as a pure spirit, you're going to have to reborn like a few billion times to get where I am, right? So that's what is expected of us, just to get a little bit better, just to improve a little bit more our resignation, our patience, our tolerance, to learn a little bit more to forgive ourselves, forgive the others. That's what's asked to us. To remember what Jesus had brought to us. Basically, that's what he's asking us. That's what Jesus asked us 21 centuries ago, and that's what the Spirit of Truth brought to us back. Let's remember the laws of love and charity. And that's why in Spiritism, we don't say without Spiritism, there's no salvation. In Spiritism, we say without charity, there's no salvation. Because that's what charity is. It's spreading the love to one another. It's being more tolerant. It's forgiving. It's remembering everything that Jesus brought to us. Because that's what he did. And he actually exemplified, because he lived it. He just didn't speak. Every single action that he had when he was amongst us was to exemplify everything that he was saying. Right? He opened his arms to everybody with no difference. He couldn't care if you believed in him, didn't believe, if you're a publican, if you're pagan, it didn't matter. He treated everybody equally. Right? There's no difference for him, and that's what he asked. And that's why his law is love one another as you love yourself. Period. He didn't say love one another as far as it's from your family. Love one another as far as they love you back. Love one another as far as they're from the same religious group. Love one another as far as they're from the same country. No. It's simple. Love one another as yourself. Dot. So we're all equal. So he brings us the concept of one big family. And it is, because we all sons and we all from the same family. We only have one creator. We all have the same father. So it doesn't matter. So we can see how Spiritism brings us knowledge that was already in the gospel, but through figures of speech. And now it brings us the concepts in a very clear way, because that's what Kardec's books are. They bring it very clear, well, except with the Genesis that you read, it's like, okay. For the people who heard Genesis, it's a little bit more complex, but it's just because it's more scientific. So if you don't have a scientific mind, like I don't, it makes a little bit harder book to read it. But they're clear information, and that's what it is Spiritism. So it starts to bring clear information. It starts to bring the information that we couldn't hear at the time, and reminds us of Jesus. Because if you read, especially if you read the Gospel according to the Spiritism, that's what it is. The whole book is reminding us of what Jesus spoke about 2,000 years ago. When we read the Spirit's book, the Medium's book, Genesis, what they bring to us is the knowledge that could not be brought to us 2,000 years ago, but now we're ready to. So when you combine Kardec's work, we can see how it is the consoler that Jesus had promised. Family separation. The idea that we're never separate from the people that we love. We're always going to be with them. Always. Isn't that so consoling? I was recently in a trip, and we're not like with a group. And in the group, there's just 2 religious people in the group. It was me and another girl. She's Christian, not Spiritism, Christian. And I remember we are at the top of Mount Nebo, which is where Moses died. And because he was not allowed to go to the Promised Land, so he goes to Mount Nebo, and that's where he died. And they did a church up there, so we saw the church, and we, thinking. And I told her, I said, life with faith, it's already so hard that I don't know how some people can live through life without faith, like without having something to give hope. And she told me something, and she said, I lost my father when I was 10 years old. And the only thing that kept me going was the certainty that I was going to meet him again. She said, until this day, is the only thing that holds me. And she said, because one of the biggest memories that I have from my father is going to church with him every Sunday. And so she still does it, and she says, that's what keeps me going. I know I'm going to meet him again. And Spiritism brings us that consoling as well. The consolation that people who are connected by the law of love will be always connected. They will never be separate from each other. And that's what Jesus wanted to say when he said, what God has united, the man cannot separate. And then, of course, to the religious, they thought they was talking about the marriage, man and woman, the one that goes sign a paper and go and do this external ritual and everything, which it also can be. But what he's talking about is that hearts, spirits that are connected by the law of love, which is the law that connects us to God, will never be separate. Never. Can be one incarnated, the other is discarnated in there, one the spiritual planet. It doesn't matter. They are always connected. Always connected. Just like in the book where the mother is connected with the son by the law of love for 300 years. Even though he's for 300 years doesn't care for her love, but she's still sending, and they're still connected by the law of love because she loves him. And there's no way for you to break that connection. So isn't that comforting? Isn't that so consoling that know that we always going to be connected with the ones that we love? Always. And so to me, in my life, there's many times in my life that I have stopped it and thought how grateful I am for being Spiritist. Because I don't know if I didn't have all this knowledge that I had, how I would have been able to go through a lot of things in my life. A lot of things I just went through because of this knowledge. That consoles me, that gives me resignation, that tells me just keep going, because as Chico Xavier used to say, it also shall pass. So there's no hardship, there's no pain that will stay there forever. It will pass. It will come. And if you have patience, if you have resignation, Spiritism tells us that the happiness will come. Like Jesus said to the apostles, your sorrow will become joy. We just need to have patience. We just have to have the understanding that we're not victims and that we have to accept what's happening in our lives and do our best and keep spreading the laws of law and keep spreading the laws of love and charity that Jesus promised us, and the joy will come, because that's what he promised us. Just gonna leave you with one last phrase from Allan Kardec. Unshakable faith is only that which can face reason in all human epochs. And that's what Spiritism brings to us, this rational faith that helps us and enlightens us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Teresa. We do have time for a few questions or comments. If anyone have any question, please let us know. If you're watching us through the internet, feel free to also write down your question, but we're ready for us.
Yeah. Which one of the 5 books actually that Allan Kardec was writing in secret?
He was writing in?
Secret. Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I didn't say. So it's the Gospel according to the Spiritism, which Kardec was going to call Imitation of the Gospel. That's the original name that he gave, the Imitation of the Gospel. And the editor, because the editor only really got the book when it was ready to go to the press, saying, you know what, this is a bit weird, let's change for the Gospel according to the Spiritism. So that's when it was changed to the Gospel according to the Spiritism. I meant to mention that was and yeah, no, but it is. Thank actually for the question. Yes, it was the Gospel according to the Spiritism. Yeah.
Anyone else? Any question from the internet? No? All right. So thank you very much, Teresa. You're gonna get prepared for the classes. We thank you all for watching us through the internet. Just a reminder for those watching us from the internet, next Sunday we do not have lecture. We're gonna have our planning day, and so it will be a little bit different from what we used to do. Okay, so there is no lecture next Sunday. All right, thank you.
But everybody's invited for the public lecture, for the...
Not on the internet.
Oh, no. Oh, no. People from the internet.
Thank you.